Okay, so we'll start with magnetic effect of electric current. Okay, so magnetic effect of electric current. Basically, there was a scientist. His name was Oersted in 1820. He's a Danish physicist. He found that whenever a current is passed through a wire, a magnetic field is created around the wire. Okay, so that field which is created due to the electric current is called as the magnetic field. The effect of that magnetic field is called as the magnetic effect due to electric current. Okay, so we are going to go through certain uh, terms of this, that are the magnetic inductions and the Biot-Savart law, some laws related to this chapter. Okay, firstly we have the magnetic induction. Basically, the magnetic field created due to this electric current behaves in the same way as that of the electric field. Okay, as the electric field, it can be expressed in terms of electric lines of forces. So in magnetic field we have magnetic lines of forces. The strength of the electric field at a point can be given by can be called as the electric intensity, but the strength of the magnetic field here is called as the magnetic induction. Okay, so there we have electric intensity, here we have magnetic induction. There we have electric lines of forces, here we have magnetic lines of forces. Also, the magnitude of the electric field at any point is called as the electric flux per unit area. So magnitude of the electric intensity is equals to the electric flux per unit area. Here the magnitude of magnetic induction is equals to the magnetic flux per unit area. So all the things are same whenever for the electric current as well as for the magnetic field. Okay, so what magnetic induction basically is, it is the strength of a magnetic field at a particular point. Okay, suppose we have a coil carrying current. Okay, current is passing through this coil, and this coil, because of the current, magnetic field is produced around this coil, and because of that magnetic field, suppose I take any point P over here, the strength of that magnetic field at that particular point will be called as the magnetic induction of that particular point at that particular point. Okay, so this magnetic induction is further studied and explained by Biot-Savart, and it has its law. The law states that the magnitude of magnetic induction at a point due to a small element of the current carrying conductor, that means we don't need to consider the entire current, we just need to consider a small part of the current of the conductor through which the current is passing. Okay, so that small part of the current we can of element of the conductor, it is directly proportional to the current. Okay, so the magnetic induction, the total magnetic field coming out from the small part of the current, that is, we take it as dB. Okay, not B, not the capital B, we are taking it dB because it is the smallest part of the element, and it is directly proportional to the current. So directly proportional to the current, length of the element, it is directly proportional to the length of the element. So we don't need to take the total length, we are only concerned about the small part of the length. So it is directly proportional to the length, and the line joining the current of the element to the point, that is the line joining the current from this point to this point, the line joining the distance between them, it is given by sine theta between the angle and the line joining the center of the element. It is basically the sine theta, the angle which this point will be forming with this element, that is given by sine theta. It is directly proportional to the sine theta, and it is inversely proportional to the square of the distance of a point from the center. Square of the distance of the point from the center. So square of the distance. So this becomes your Biot-Savart's law. It states that dB is equals to I dl sin theta upon r square, where I is your current, dl will be your length, theta will be the angle which the point will make with the element, and r square will be the distance between the two elements. Here we have the right hand thumb rule regarding the magnetic field. Okay, what the regarding the magnetic field of electric current. So what the right hand thumb rule states is, suppose we have a current, okay, passing through this conductor, the current is in the upward direction. So I can write I, which is going in the upward direction, and if I hold the conductor in this way, so my thumb will represent the direction of the current, and my fingers will represent the direction of the magnetic field. So my magnetic field will be in this direction. Okay, so it is B out here. So that is what the right hand thumb rule says, that if your fingers point out the direction of the current, and if your thumb points out the direction of the current, then your fingers will point out the direction of the magnetic field. Now next we have the magnetic induction at the center of a circular coil carrying current. Okay, here we are having a current carrying conductor circular coil which is carrying a conductor. Suppose I have this circular coil. And I am having current passing through this circular coil. Okay, I need to find the magnetic induction at the center of this coil. So what we'll first do is we'll divide this into small elements. We'll divide the coil into small elements, and then we'll sum all the elements. We'll first divide this into small element dl. Okay, the total length of the conductor is L, and we'll remove a small part of this length, and the current passing through this distance L will give out some magnetic field that will affect this point. Okay, so the magnetic field B, the magnetic induction at this particular point, because of this dl, we'll find that first, and then because of such a small part we are getting this much of magnetic induction. Then because of the entire part, how much magnetic induction we'll get, we'll add all the entire parts. Okay, so basically I have a current in this direction, and I have a small element which is making an angle theta, that is 90 degree right angle. It's a tangent basically. So according to the Biot-Savart's law, for the small element dB, I have mu naught upon 4 pi I dl sin theta upon r square, where mu naught will be the permittivity of this medium and 4 and 2 pi. Okay, so dB, it will be mu naught upon 4 pi I dl r square. Why r square? Because my sin theta, here my angle theta is 90 degree, so sin 90 becomes equals to 1. So I am remaining with I dl r square. Now this will be my magnetic induction coming out from this much area. Now for the total entire coil, the magnetic induction will be, I'll integrate it. So integration, this comes out to be a constant. Again I and r square will come out, and what I will be remaining with is integration of dl. So dl is along the circumference of the circle. So for the circumference of the circle I get 2 pi r. I substitute the 2 pi r over here, cancel what the remaining parts are, and I am remaining with this formula B equals to mu naught I upon 2r. So the magnetic induction at this particular point is equals to mu naught I upon 2r. That is directly proportional to the current. The larger the flow of the current, the more the magnetic induction at the point will be, and it is inversely proportional to the distance. The shorter the distance, the more the magnetic field; larger the distance, the less the magnetic field. Now the magnetic induction at a point along the axis of a coil carrying conductor. Now this is my coil again, which is carrying some current. Okay, because of that there is a magnetic field around, and I have to find the magnetic induction at this particular point along the axis of this conductor. So what we'll do first is we'll find the magnetic induction again, as we did earlier. We'll find the magnetic induction which is coming out from the small element dl. I'll take a small element A, I'll take a point A, and this will be my small element dl, and find the magnetic induction from this point A to this point P. So I'll join the points. Okay, now the distance between this is A. Okay, and the angle they are forming is alpha, which is the angle between AP, and suppose this is my origin O. Okay, from the center. So this is my point P, this is my center O. So this point P is along the axis, and and I have considered some element A. Then the magnetic field, the magnetic induction from this small element A will be how much? That will be given by the Biot-Savart's law, which is dB is equals to mu naught 4 pi I dl sin theta upon r square. Now sin theta will be my angle between the small element A and the point P, which is always a 90 degree. So therefore sin theta becomes theta equals to 90. So sin 90 becomes equals to 1. So IDL upon r square. I am remaining with this formula, dB equals to mu naught upon 4 pi IDL upon r square. That much of magnetic field is coming along this path. Okay, now the magnetic induction which is coming at the point P is perpendicular to both this element A and this line AP. So it is in this direction. So it is perpendicular to both this element A and this line AP, and this perpendicular AP will be resolved in two parts. It will resolve in one perpendicular to it and one parallel to it. Okay, so it will be resolved in this and this direction. So we are resolving it. So basically what we get here is we have resolved the magnetic induction into two basic components. After resolving, we'll find the magnetic induction. We get the magnetic induction to be B, which is equals to mu naught IA upon 2R cube. Okay, this will be a magnetic induction after you resolve it. Then after that we'll find the distance R with respect to, then for the distance R you will be getting mu equals to mu naught, sorry, the distance r you will be getting a square upon x square raised to 3 by 2. Substituting the distance r, you get this formula. So this formula gives you the distances for this magnetic field. This OP is your distance x and this AP will be your distance r. So now we will straight away go to the conclusions for this. This will be your entire formula for the magnetic field along the axis of the coil. So for here, if suppose the magnetic field is at the center of the coil, if suppose this magnetic induction field is at the center of the coil, suppose I bring this point P to the center of the coil, my x will become equals to 0. So if your x becomes equals to 0, your left over here is with mu naught I upon 2a. Okay, now suppose if it is this P is very much away from the center, that means your x will be very much greater than a. Okay, this x will be, this is your distance a, so your x is very much greater than a. So what you are remaining with is mu naught I a square upon 2x cube. Okay, you can put, if your coil has number of turns n, then you can put n over here, you can put n over here, you can put n over here. That will be your number of turns of the coil. So this will be your cases, two cases when your point P will be very far away from the center and when it will be at the center. Okay, now the force acting on a conductor carrying current in the magnetic field. Suppose instead of a current, I have a charge q which is passing through the magnetic field. This is my magnetic field and I have some charge q which is passing through the magnetic field. That charge q will be experiencing a force in the upward direction, and that force by which will it experience, that will depend on how the intensity of the magnetic field and then also the velocity by which the force is passing. So that is by which the charge is passing. So that force experienced by the charge will be given by q v cross b. It is this. So q v cross b. Also it will depend on the angle which the charge will make while passing through the magnetic field. So that is given by sine theta. So it depends on the charge, the intensity of the charge, also the velocity with which the charge will pass, also the magnetic field, the intensity of the magnetic field when it passes through the magnetic field. Suppose instead of the charge now I have an entire conductor. Okay, so for that conductor we will be finding the velocity of the charges. For that conductor we will take small elements. Inside the conductor there will be nothing but the flow of electric current, and that flow of electric current is the flow of the charges. So whenever the current moves in one direction, the flow of the charges is in the opposite direction. So for instance, we consider the velocity of the charges which are there inside the conductor, and that velocity will be from one length to the other length. That will be length upon time. So that is distance upon time. So distance covered by those charges will be inside the conductor. So that will be dl upon dt. So the force experienced by one charge in that much distance will be the charge which is moving v cross b, velocity of the charge and the magnetic field. This will be the force experienced by only a single small element of the conductor. Okay, so dq will be df will be dq v cross b, where velocity is equals to dl upon dt. I'll substitute dl upon dt. My L stays outside, dt comes out. So dq by dt. What is this? Charge upon time. Charge upon time is nothing but I into dl cross b. So that is current into dl cross b. So this much force is required. This much is the force experienced by a single charge inside the conductor. Now the total force experiences will be the total force on this conductor will be the charge experienced by each and every particle. That is the summation of all the forces. By the force experienced by each and every particle, that will be the summation of all the forces. That will be the entire formula. So I dl cross b, I, which is your current, is a constant, will come out. B, the magnetic field, it will also not change, it will also come out. So the change in the length will be the total length L. It is given by total length L. So this becomes your formula I L B sine theta, where theta will be the angle which your conductor will make with the magnetic field. So that much of the force is experienced by the conductor when it moves through by a charged conductor when it moves through the magnetic field. Here's the Fleming's left hand rule. It states that stretch the thumb, first finger and the middle finger on the left hand in such a way that they are mutually perpendicular to each other. If the first finger points the direction of magnetic field and the middle finger points the direction of the current, then the thumb will point the direction of the force acting on that conductor in the direction of, and that is the direction of the motion of the conductor. So basically, if suppose I have this conductor as the pen, then my three fingers of the left hand will be stretched like this. Okay, they are mutually perpendicular to each other. So if my first finger states the if the first finger states the direction of the magnetic field, if this is the direction of the magnetic field, the middle finger, this is the direction of the current, then the force acting on the conductor will be in the thumb. It will be in the left, it will be represented by the thumb. So the force will be in this direction, away from the the force will be in this direction. So this is the perpendicular, these three fingers are perpendicular to each other. So that is what the Fleming's left hand rule states.